governors need to be able to get funding when they need to bring their National Guard into play. The National Guard's going to have to play this. It costs a lot of money.
Dollar bills don't vote, although they try to. We vote. People vote. Young people vote. And it's about time, long past time, that we recognize and understand that we owe our seats, we owe our political power because of young people, because of the movement for Black lives, because of women, because of the working class across this country. And it's a class issue, it's a race issue, it's a gender issue. That's why this work is so important. And because of the movement and the power that the movement has built, over 1 million calls were made in Texas alone. Over 1 million calls. We had calls made for, Jamal, you know how many calls were made for you in your race?
Yes.
How many? Yeah. There you go. The movement made 1 million calls for Jamal Bowman. So don't tell us about what young people can and can't do, what the movement for Black lives can and can't do, what the movement for climate justice can and can't do. And because you all have done the work, you all got us a seat at the table. We have worked with the Biden administration to secure commitment on a $2 trillion climate plan. $2 trillion. But we're not going to stop there. We're not going to stop with a piece of paper. That's not what's going to happen. We're not going to forget about that agreement for the sake of an election, are we? No. What we're going to do is that we're going to organize and demand that this administration, which I believe is decent and kind and honorable, keep their promise. So that's what our next move is to make sure that the Biden administration
people pay
keeps
their fair share.
promise.
If corporations and the ultra wealthy, for example, as Warren Buffett likes to say, if he paid as much as his secretary paid, if we reverse the tax bill but raised our corporate tax rate to 28%, which is not even as high as it was before.
Right.
If we do those two things and also close some of those loopholes, that's $2 trillion right there. If we implement a carbon tax, that's an additional amount of a large amount of revenue that we can have. Just last year, we gave the military a $700 billion budget increase, which they didn't even ask for. What we need to do is reprioritize what we want to accomplish as a nation.
Jesse?
I heard today that she actually has an economics degree.
Now you may be asking, how much damage can he really do in the next several months until the election? A lot. A lot of damage. And you know, you can't trust this president to do what's right for this country. You can trust he will do what's right for Donald Trump. He'll do it now. He's done it before. He'll do it for the next several months. He'll do it in the election if he's allowed to.
And regulate and restrict our companies to death. And then we allow foreign countries that cheat to export their goods to us tax-free. How stupid is this? Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to declare our economic independence once again. Here are 7 steps I would pursue right away to bring back our jobs. Number 1, I am going to withdraw the United States from the Trans-Pacific Partnership. I'm going to appoint the toughest and smartest, and I know them all, trade negotiators to fight on behalf of American workers. I'm going to direct the Secretary of Commerce to identify every violation of trade agreements a foreign country is currently using to harm you, the American worker. I will then direct all appropriate agencies to use every tool under American and international law to end these abuses, and abuse is the right word. I'm going to tell our NAFTA partners that I intend to immediately renegotiate the terms of that agreement to get a better deal by a lot, not just a little. by a lot for our workers. If I'm going to instruct my Treasury Secretary to label China a currency manipulator, any country that devalues their currency in order to take unfair advantage of the United States, which is many countries, will be met with sharply. And that includes tariffs and taxes. I'm going to instruct the U.S. Trade Representative to bring trade cases against China, both in this country and at the WTO. 7, if China does not stop its illegal activities, including its theft of American trade secrets, I will use every lawful president. Hey, look, this is very easy. This is so easy. I love saying this. I will use every lawful presidential power to remedy trade disputes, including the application of tariffs consistent with Section 201 and 301 of the Trade Act of 1974 and Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962. And when they say trade expansion, they're talking about other countries. They're not talking about us, because there is no expansion. They get the expansion, we get the joblessness. That's the way it works. We're going to make America great again for everyone, greater than ever before. And I promise you, if I become president, we are going to be working again. We are going to have great jobs again. You're going to be so happy. You're going to be proud of your president. You're going to be proud, proud, proud of our country once again.
As we continue for the entire hour with 2016 Republican frontrunner Donald Trump. All right, Mr. Trump, let me talk a little politics process with you. You saw this meeting that took place in Sea Island, Georgia. Mitch McConnell was there, a lot of rich millionaires and billionaires. You heard the speech of Governor Romney. There seems to be a concerted effort to prevent you from getting the 1,237 delegates because they want a brokered convention. They want a contested convention. John Kasich said, well, that would even be exciting, and he acknowledged to me that would be the only path he would have to the nomination.
It's the only way he can get it, and he's got a lot of problems, I think, in Ohio. Look, thank you. It's very sad. I heard 59 planes flew in from all over the world. These are people that are taking advantage of our country. These are people that I know, many of them. I can even look at their plane and say, who owns this one, who owns that one? I know them. And they're all flying in because, they don't want to have strong borders. They want stuff flowing across the borders. They don't want to have taxation when countries treat us unfairly because they benefit from that. And we have to. Otherwise, we're going to continue to lose our businesses. I mean, you have China sending things into this country, no tax, no nothing. If you want to do business in China, it's almost impossible. And if you get your product there, you're going to pay a tremendous tax. But so, you know what? I want beautiful free borders. I want everything to be nice, but it doesn't work.
But this is a concerted effort to prevent you from getting the nomination. Yeah. And it appears, based on the names of the people there, that they're willing to spend millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars to stop.
Well, they've already spent it. I mean, we had a great night last night. I love these videos. It was a great group. Look, did we have a great night last night? I won't talk about them on your show.
All right.
Because they happen to be on Fox, many of them. But I will say, they even said that was a phenomenal evening for Trump. And, the victories, and not only the victories, the margins they were landslides. They were all landslides. So here's what's happening. The biggest story in politics today is the fact that during the Republican primaries, so many people, millions and millions of additional people are showing up to vote. It is a phenomenon. It's been on the cover of Time magazine numerous times. I've been on the cover of Time magazine like 4 times in a short period of time. Can you believe it? That's great. I've been on, I think 2 times in my lifetime, and I've been on 4 times. Politics is really a lot of fun. But the fact is, we have altogether, we have a movement going on. And it's a movement of competence and common sense. And thank you. It's a movement. It's a movement of competence and common sense and low taxes and so many other things. And by the way, and borders.
Last night you
And
said
they would be so foolish, Sean, to give it away.
I agree with you.
Millions of people, they would be so foolish to throw that away.
When you see the numbers have questioned, look, you're a tough businessman, a fighter. Some of the debates we were discussing with the crowd before have gotten very intense. And some say, well, Donald Trump, this is what Mitt Romney said, doesn't have the temperament to be president. You said last night, I can be as presidential as anybody. Talk about the temperament that you think the president needs.
You know, it's actually quite a complicated subject. There were 17 people that started, all capable people, senators and governors. I mean, we're not talking about babies, and they got there by guile and intelligence. So I started off with 17. Everybody that's attacked me is gone. Do you ever notice that? Wouldn't that be nice for our country? So we're now down to 4. But when I'm doing that, I can't be so nice. When I'm being attacked viciously, and then they attack me and they go 0 and they say bye-bye. And these are not people that like me. And these are among the people that are, ganging up to try and do something. Look, I mean, I have what it takes. But you have to, when somebody's attacking you personally and attacking you viciously, I guess they say some people say, just stand up and let them say whatever they want. You're presidential. It doesn't work that way. I would be run out of town. If I did that, it doesn't work that way. No, Sean, I'm listening. At the right time, I will be so presidential that you'll call me and you say, Donald, you have to stop that. It's too much. But you know what? It is true, and I think you understand. When they attack me, I have to attack back. I'm a counterpuncher. When they attack me, if I don't attack back, the press can say, oh, he should act more presidential. And then, like a couple of days ago, I gave a speech and said, that was so presidential. I can be presidential. But when you're being attacked, and when you attack back, they say it's not.
But I see after you've had victories and you hold these press conferences.
Right.
With his legal challenges repeatedly failing and key states starting to certify Joe Biden's win, President Trump tonight again falsely claiming victory during a briefing on drug prices.
Big Pharma ran millions of dollars of negative advertisements against me during the campaign, which I won, by the way, but, we'll find that out.
Those his first public comments in a week, coming as Georgia tonight certified that President-elect Biden narrowly won the state, reaffirmed by a hand recount.
As Secretary of State, I believe that the numbers that we have presented today are correct.
As part of his unprecedented effort to bypass the vote count, President Trump tonight's eyeing Michigan, where Biden leads by more than 150,000 votes. The president summoning Republican state leaders to the White House, confronted by protesters when they arrived in D.C. The lawmakers in a statement tonight did not say whether the president pressured them to overturn the results based on unproven claims of fraud and voting irregularities, but said they would uphold Michigan law, requiring the state's electoral votes go to the winner of the popular vote. This tonight from Biden's legal advisor.
Of course, it's an abuse of office. It's an open attempt to intimidate election officials. It's absolutely appalling.
The White House says it will not discuss a transition until the president's legal challenges to the election are resolved.
234 pages of affidavits publicly available in one county alone. These are real claims. These individuals deserve to be heard.
But as of tonight, 24 of the 35 legal challenges by the president and local Republicans have already been denied, dismissed, settled, or withdrawn, according to an NBC News count. Republican Mitt Romney, a frequent Trump critic, accusing the president of trying to subvert the will of the people. But most Republicans have not pushed President Trump to concede, even as President-elect Biden, turning 78 today, met with Democratic leaders Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer.
In my Oval Office, you're me casa, you casa.
And tonight, a person close to President Trump tells NBC News the president knows he lost but wants to make the Democrats' transition into the White House as difficult as he claims.
The state of Michigan is back in play. On Thursday, President Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, announced that the Wayne County Board of Canvassers has, in fact, not certified the vote. Giuliani said there is not only evidence of fraud, but massive fraud in Wayne County, with many times the number of registered voters casting their ballots. The wildly contested battleground state, which Democrats have been calling for Joe Biden since election night, now appears to be up in the air, with odds favoring a Trump victory. So how did all this happen? Well, with ballot integrity under question in Michigan's most populous county, the two Republican members of Wayne's Board of Canvassers decided not to certify the vote on Tuesday. It was a huge decision, putting the state up for grabs again. But it also made the two Republicans, Monica Palmer and William Hartman, hugely unpopular among Democrats in the state. And what did the Democrats do? They proceeded to harass, intimidate, and even threaten the safety of Republican members, Palmer and Hartman, and their families, and even released information about where their children go to school. One woman at the meeting, Ashley Daniels, called them racists and went as far as threatening to come after their heads. Under that kind of duress, the Republicans buckled and reversed course, agreeing to certify the vote on condition that Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson would conduct a full independent audit of Detroit's questionable precincts. But as it turns out, Democrats basically had their fingers crossed when they agreed to the audit, and after the Republicans certified the vote, Jocelyn Benson turned around and told Palmer she didn't view the agreement as binding. As a result of these threats and the Democrats' failure to uphold their agreement on Wednesday, Palmer and Hartman rescinded their votes to certify the Wayne County elections. They also both signed affidavits saying they were pressured and misled during Tuesday's meeting. So what happens now? Well, the Secretary of State's office claims there's no legal mechanism for Palmer and Hartman to rescind their votes. But President Trump's legal team confirmed on Thursday that the vote has not been certified. Both Palmer and Hartman have credible and undeniable proof that they were coerced by Democrats into certifying that vote. So the process now moves to the State Board of Canvassers, made up of 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. Considering how Palmer and Hartman were treated and their sworn affidavits, it's highly unlikely that the Republicans in the State Board will move forward with certifying the vote, although sources tell us they are under extreme pressure from Democrats to get it approved. If they don't, then the process moves on to the State Board of Legislators, which is controlled by Republicans and would ultimately mean a victory for President Trump. The Board of State Canvassers are set to meet on Monday, and it's their responsibility to certify the result by no later than December 13th. And despite everything else that's going on, President Trump is still taking the time to call and check on the Wayne County canvassers and make sure they're okay. Chairwoman Monica Palmer says that President Trump reached out to her personally to make sure that she was safe after hearing about the threats and doxing against her and her family. Has Joe Biden called these canvassers to check and see if they're okay? No, he hasn't. Because Joe Biden cares more about getting votes, not if his people are intimidating and threatening innocent children to secure his victory. Whatever happens, the people of Michigan and the American people will be watching this process closely because the fate of the nation and democracy itself could hang in the balance. For One American News,
seeing all of the Patriots up there. You know, President Trump have supporters that you see and those that you don't see. That's right. There is really a silent majority. Yeah. And people really need to understand that. Yeah. So it was phenomenal seeing the Patriots up there. And listen, it wasn't no looting. No. There wasn't no fighting. There was no chaos. It was peaceful protesting.
Diverse crowd. People are up there because it's not about Republican or Democrat. This is about our freedom.
That's right.
This is about our freedom, our constitutional rights, our civil liberties being encroached upon by these people that want to bring in tyranny against our country.
And you're right about that.
Yeah.
Bring in tyranny.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, so as the crowd was dispersing and they were going back to their destinations or maybe their hotels, you had about 50 people show up that they were Antifa and Black Lives Matter. If y'all don't believe me, take a look at this.
Let's go, John.
You see what I'm talking about? See, so this is the mess that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter and Antifa, they need to be deemed a terrorist organization because they are terrorizing the public for what? For what reason? They have no business terrorizing people, going up to people, hitting on them, invading their space.
No
and,
reason.
you know, they don't have. Let me tell you something. We have laws and we have rules in this country, and to go up and to assault somebody and you think it's okay, it's not okay. Because what happens when that person turn around and assaults you back?
That's right.
What happens
or
when
defend themselves?
Using their Second Amendment right.
And you got to remember, back in the day, you had the Democrat Party. They used the KKK to intimidate black people.
That's right.
Now today, the same Democrat Party is using Antifa and Black Lives Matter to intimidate all people that goes against their narrative.
That's right.
And you know that Black Lives Matter was started during the Obama administration. The funny thing is, Black Lives Matter felt like their black lives didn't matter under a black president. Isn't that something?
I reckon that's why they started it, huh?
So sad.
But I'm telling you, that this here needs to really be addressed. Because I hate for one of them to walk up to the wrong person. Look at some things.
I don't condone or advocate, for violence. I don't do that. But I'm not going to condone and advocate for you to stand there and get beat up either.
Absolutely not. That's right. That ain't going to happen. Speaking of beat up, I feel like that these governors are trying to beat up on the American people, girl.
Yes, they are.
Because they're putting all of these measures in place to lock our country back down again. You got Gavin Newsom out eating at a restaurant without no mask on, no social distancing, but he's locking his state down. You have Cuomo, the moron, operating from outer space. Because he got to be somewhere out of space and not in reality of what's going on here. I'm glad that you mentioned the Democrat Party, which to me is the party of slavery. These here governors are acting like tyranny dictators. They're acting like slave masters.
That's right.
See, back during the days of slavery, you had the slave masters split people up. They will put the dark people in the field, the light people in the house. Now they don't want you to go to each other's house for Thanksgiving. Why? Because they don't want you talking to each other. They don't want you trying to figure out what's going on. Because we know that there's something going on, and this is not quite right.
But what gives these governors and mayors the legal right to be able to shut down these particular states and these particular cities? What gives them the legal right? Because that emergency declaration ended on May the 1st. It takes the legislative branch to come in and set up the rules to extend these lockdowns. Who's giving these governors and these mayors the legal right to say what you can and cannot do in the privacy of your home?
But you know what? This is all about the will of the people. It's about we the people. And if we the people don't stand up and say nothing, they're going to continue to do this kind of foolishness to us. That's what's going to happen. Now, I love what they're doing, the legislators are doing up there in Michigan. Honey, they are trying to impeach this governor up here in Michigan, and good for them. And this is what I say to everybody. If you don't like the tyranny, if you don't like the dictatorship, if you don't like being locked down, contact your legislator. How about it's time for all of us to impeach some of these governors for overstepping their boundaries and trying to take away our holidays, our livelihood. I mean, just really, and trying to flatten the economy. This is what this is about.
And a political commentator told Newsmax in November 18th interview that they have recovered raw data from the servers seized in Germany, which he said will be made public, including information about U.S. election servers, why they were overseas, how ballots were converted from one candidate to another, and how such a massive all-American cheating system worked.
But now that we have seized the servers for Dominion that were over in Germany, and we're starting to get some raw data off of that, I know you guys have a huge audience now, Sean. Congratulations for that. But I want everybody to listen to me. The things that are going to come out are going to shake the globalists to their very core. And when President Trump is declared the winner of this election, what we saw last weekend in the streets, Trump supporters getting attacked in D.C., that's nothing. These people are coming for every city and every suburb, so be prepared because this is happening and you need to protect yourself.
Brian, let me go back to you. You said things are going to come out. What things?
Well, like I said, the servers...
The above quote is from the live interview with Trasher and is intended to show you what he said about the servers. As for his comments regarding the globalists and them mobilizing the leftists to make trouble all over America when Trump actually declares victory is his own opinion. In the afternoon of November 19th, Trump's legal team held a press conference at Capitol Hill. During the Q&A at the conference, a reporter asked Trump's attorney Sidney Powell this specific question.
There's reports that there was a piece of hardware, possibly a server, picked up in Germany. Is that true, and is it related to this?
That is true. It is somehow related to this, but I do not know whether good guys got it or bad guys got it.
We don't know who picked it up.
Here's Powell's answer. That is true. It is somehow related to this, but I do not know if good guys got it or bad guys got it, so we don't know who took the server. Now, Attorney Powell claimed that she didn't know who took the servers in Germany and whether it was the good guys or the bad guys. But Trasher, a member of the Trump recount committee, said that they have obtained some of the raw data from the servers and that it had been restored and would be made public. Putting these two statements together creates some confusion. Powell is a reputable American lawyer who would never lie and make things up at a press conference like this on behalf of Trump's team. Trasher, on the other hand, is a member of Trump's recount committee and is briefing the American public in the news media and is unlikely to say anything without solid evidence. But at least one thing can now be further confirmed. The seizure of servers in Germany did happen. It was first reported on our program on November 13, just after Congressman Gomer leaked the story to the public. On Monday, November 9th, U.S. Media Veterans Today published an article online by former British lawyer Michael Shrimpton. The article was titled, "It Was a Steal." In the first paragraph of the article, he said, "This column is slightly later than planned because of my behind-the-scenes role over the weekend, which included alerting the White House on Saturday night to the existence of a dossier which came in from the Paris to MI6 headquarters at Vauxhall Cross on Friday evening, confirming massive fraud. I believe it identifies B at CIA as the coordinator of the Black CIA operation to give the election to Joe Chinese Biden, who's been on Peking's payroll for several years. The CIA operation is being controlled from Frankfurt, of course." This is the first paragraph, and Michael Shrimpton ended the paragraph with the words, "of course," meaning that it was no surprise that the CIA was manipulating the situation in Frankfurt. Later in the article, the author also mentioned that the CIA printed 3.75 additional ballots for this purpose. The author, Michael Shrimpton, has made some controversial statements in the past, but as his article is published in a formal US media, it can still be used as a reference. So above, I've given you 3 examples of which confirm the existence and confiscation of servers in Germany that were involved in the manipulation of the US elections. These servers, according to current reports, belong to Cyto, an election software system company headquartered in Barcelona, Spain, but it partnered with the American company Dominion. According to Giuliani's allegations, Dominion transferred its data from nearly 30 states to Cyto's server in Frankfurt. The servers were utilized to manipulate and tamper with the ballots. In addition, the server is nominally owned by Cyto, but according to the allegations, it is also very likely that the CIA actually controlled it, and the server was located in the CIA's facility in Frankfurt. Now, let's talk about Dominion. The friends who have seen our previous programs know Dominion is actually the Smartmatic election software system set up in the United States. The core of Dominion's software is Smartmatic, and Smartmatic was in service for the socialist dictators in Venezuela to ensure that they can continue to rule their country. Moreover, according to the accusations of Trump's legal team, Smartmatic has a considerable Chinese background with investments from the Chinese Communist Party. At the November 19th afternoon press conference, Attorney Powell also mentioned this, saying, "Here, uncovering today, is the massive influence of communist money through Venezuela, Cuba, and likely China,
and I
and the
just met with a
interference with our
bipartisan
election here
group
in the
of
United
Democratic and
States."
Republican governors. We talked about what we need to do to make free testing available for everyone, to make a free vaccine available for everyone, and to get this pandemic under control. Governors are elected by their states to take action in moments of crisis. They're the ones who go to the places and talk to the people who are hardest hit. And during this pandemic, they have been called on to make very difficult decisions about the health and safety of the people they represent, about opening schools, and about opening our economy responsibly. I have served in both state and local government, so I understand the critical role our governors play. And they will have partners in the White House starting on January 20th. successful the country is successful. So our message to our governors and to all of our nation's state and local leaders is simple. President-elect Biden and I will make sure you have the resources and support, and it is now my great honor to save lives to introduce and help get President-elect Joe Biden.
The senator and I have, in fact, are the likely winners. Until she does that, we don't have access to all the information that we need to get from all the various agencies. And even more importantly, vaccination plan to actually get vaccinations. We haven't been able to get into Operation Warp Speed, but we will take what we've learned today and build it into our planning. The country is still in a crisis, and there's a dark winter still ahead. Yesterday, each of the governors emphasized that we might be Democrats and Republicans, but we're all Americans first. They congratulated us heartily for our win. What really pleased me was that the governors made clear that beating COVID-19 is going to require all of us working together as one country. Kamala and I agree. We were deeply impressed with how much consensus there was, how to move forward among the governors. What we need to do now is how we need to do it. How are we going to do it? In what coordinated way can it be done?
As all ended with this video. A young woman full of life, traveling the world to help the innocent victims of war.
My name is Kayla Mueller.
But that all ended with this video, being seen this morning for the first time.
I've been here too long. I've been very sick, and it's very terrifying here.
Kayla Mueller had been taken hostage by ISIS on what was supposed to have been a quick trip into Syria. As ISIS brutally murdered 3 young American men,
I'm Barack Obama.
The plight of a 4th American hostage, Kayla, remained a closely held secret.
And it comes just as we learn of an intercepted phone. Developments from Washington now. The president speaking just a short time ago, thanking Congress for approving and funding his plan.
At the same time today, the ISIS propaganda machine surfaced another of its Western hostages. British journalist John Cantley, forced to read a 3-minute script as a kind of spokesman for the benefits of ISIS.
You're thinking he's only doing this because he's a prisoner. He's got a gun at his head and he's being forced to do this, right? Well, it's true. I am a prisoner.
The size of gatherings.
Our situation has changed, and we must change with it.
In West Virginia, this is what Republican Governor Jim Justice said at the beginning of the pandemic.
For crying out loud, go to the grocery store. If you want to go to Bob Evans and eat, go to Bob Evans and eat.
West Virginia escaped the initial COVID surge, but now it is setting records. And here is what Governor Justice is now saying as he implements a stricter mask mandate.
I need you to quit believing in any way that somebody's going to come and take your guns or it's unconstitutional or whatever it may be. Who cares about all that right at this moment? Right at this moment, all we need to do is try to some way break the chain of this killer that's eating us alive. We need to stop listening to this noise out of people that just want to take your money, to buy their campaign rhetoric, or want to absolutely just be relevant. Silly.
Now in Iowa, this was Republican Governor Kim Reynolds back in July when the White House task force advised the state lock down to prevent a major spread, saying, quote, "No, I'm not going to mandate masks. I trust Iowans. I believe in Iowans. There's no way to enforce it." Most of the states or entities that have done that, they've actually gone as far as to say, we're not going to enforce it, so it's just kind of a feel-good. Well, now Governor Reynolds is reversing course, mandating masks for the first time.
No one wants to do this. I don't want to do this. If Iowans don't buy into this, we lose. Businesses will close once again. More schools will be forced to go online, and our healthcare system will fail.
Now, these governors are finally accepting reality, but not in South Dakota. This is Republican Governor Kristi Noem, a Trump loyalist through and through. She once brought a miniature Mount Rushmore to charm the president after he asked her about the possibility of adding his face to the monument. Her state is one of the epicenters right now, and it's one of a handful that has issued no restrictions of any kind. She described her general philosophy on knowledge and governing at the RNC.
We are not and will not be the subjects of an elite class of so-called experts. We, the people, are the government.
Hey, so this new smartwatch I'm holding is going absolutely viral. It's a new smartwatch and fitness tracker that's built using the same technology that
Her office released this statement in response to calls recently for a mask mandate. Quote, "It's a good day for freedom. Joe Biden realizes that the president doesn't have the authority to institute a mask mandate. For that matter, neither does Governor Noem, which is why she has provided her citizens with the full scope of the science and trusted them to make the best decisions for themselves and their loved ones." The full scope of the science, says a governor who has given air to those who question the effectiveness of masks, the proven effectiveness of masks. This isn't a legitimate debate. The death rate in Governor Kristi Noem's state is one of the highest in the nation. So is the case rate right now. And yet she continues to placate President Trump's insecurities at the expense of the public health of her constituents, essential workers, and the medical staff, including this nurse from Woonsocket, South Dakota, who described what it's been like to witness people dying of COVID.
And their last dying words are, this can't be happening, it's not real. And when they should be spending time FaceTiming their families, they're filled with anger and hatred.
And this doctor from Sioux Falls, who is begging Noem to do something, to do anything.
Governor Noem, the people are suffering. We have 1,000 cases a day. And this is not just about being in the hospital or the percentage of hospital beds. This is about the vast array of conditions that will develop for people in general getting COVID. We need to throw everything we have at it. I get that you don't want strict lockdowns, neither do I. Those are devastating too. But we can't just let this virus run without throwing everything we have at it. And that means, Governor, you need to be out in front of the people, and you need to encourage all of the mitigating strategies that even have the potential, including masks, which I know you have sort of said the results were mixed. I'm sorry, Governor, but all of medicine is mixed results. That's what we do every day. So please, we have to take a different course.
South Dakotans are dying because of their leaders' public health malfeasance. South Dakotans are dying without dignity in some cases, wondering how their body is ravaged by something they didn't think was real. South Dakotans are sounding the alarm. Are you listening, Governor Noem?
They seem to be reading statements prepared by the gunman.
Hi everyone, I'm Selena Wing-Pei. I'm one of the many hostages here at the Lindt Cafe at Martin Place. We had 3 specific requests and none of those have been met. One is to send an IS flag as soon as possible and 1 hostage will be released. To please broadcast on all media that this is an attack on Australia by the Islamic State. And number 3 is that we need Tony Abbott to contact the brother on a live feed and 5 hostages will be released. Most importantly, there are 3 bombs around George Street.
Biden and I just met with a bipartisan group of Democratic and Republican governors. We talked about what we need to do to make free testing available for everyone, to make a free vaccine available for everyone, and to get this pandemic under control. Governors are elected by their states to take action in moments of crisis. They're the ones who go to the places and talk to the people who are hardest hit. And during this pandemic, they have been called on to make very difficult decisions about the health and safety of the people they represent, about opening schools, and about opening our economy responsibly. I have served in both state and local government, so I understand the critical role our governors play. And they will have partners in the White House starting on January 20th. Because as Governor Herbert said in our meeting, when the states are successful, the country is successful. So our message to our governors and to all of our nation's state and local leaders is simple. President-elect Biden and I will make sure you have the resources and support you need to save lives and help get our economy back on track. And we will also make sure that our federal, state, local, and tribal authorities are working closely together so we can tackle these challenges as effectively as possible. Because when it comes to this pandemic and the economic recovery, we are not Democrats or Republicans. We are Americans, and we will be there for one another. That's the kind of leadership the American people need and deserve, and it's the kind of leadership President-elect Biden and I will provide, and it is now my great honor to introduce President-elect Joe Biden.
Senator and I have in fact are the likely winners. And until she does that, we don't have access to all the information that we need to get from all the various agencies. We're not able to deal with everything from testing to guidance to all-important issue of vaccine. Look at what we've learned today and build it into our planning. The country is still in a crisis, and there's a dark winter still ahead. Yesterday, America reached another tragic milestone, 250,000 deaths. 250,000 people died due to COVID-19. And there are empty chairs and dining room tables just were filled just days and weeks ago with loved ones, family, friends who laughed and talked together. To those families and friends that are left behind, Jill and I send our love and our prayers. We know, like many of you do, how tough it is to find purpose in the memory of a loved one you just lost. It'll take time, but you'll find it. You'll find it. And you'll find your purpose as we're going to find our purpose for our nation as a nation now. I promise you that. And I promise you that we'll work together. There was a great meeting we had today. All the governors, no matter their political party, whether they're from wherever part of the country they represented, no matter their political philosophy, shared a strong an abiding sense and a common purpose. There was a real desire for a real partnership between the states and the federal government. Each of the governors emphasized that we might be Democrats and Republicans, but we're all Americans first. They congratulated us heartily for our win. What really pleased me was that governors made clear that beating COVID-19 will require all of us working together as one country. Come on, I agree. We're deeply impressed with how much consensus there was, how to move forward among the government. What we need to do now is how we need to do it. How are we going to do it? In what coordinated way can it be done? We discussed a number of critical ways we can work together and unify around a national approach to controlling COVID-19.
This country can be reborn and free, and this government of the people, by the people, and for the people can endure forever. On October 22nd, before the 2016 election, Trump also went to Gettysburg to deliver his 100 Days Plan speech. Today, looking back on his speeches, most of his promises have been fulfilled, living up to the Trumpism of promise made and promise kept. In his Gettysburg address, Trump said, "I am not a politician, and I never want to be a politician. But when I saw the trouble our country was in, I knew I couldn't stand by and watch any longer. Our country has been so good to me. I love our country, and I felt I had to act. Change has to come outside from our broken system. Our system is very broken. The fact that Washington and the Washington establishment has tried so hard to stop our campaign is only more proof that our campaign represents the kind of change that only arrives once in a lifetime." At Gettysburg, Trump also called upon Americans to rise above the noise and clamor of politics and come together to embrace the pillars of the American spirit, faith and optimism. He then laid out his 100-day plan on how to drain the Washington swamp and build a 100-day New Deal. At the end of his speech, Trump said, "If we follow these steps, we will once more have a government of, by, and for the people," echoing Lincoln's proclamation from a century ago. As for Biden, he also gave a speech at Gettysburg in October this year, but what did he talk about? He spoke for more than 20 minutes and summed up his speech by emphasizing two words, hatred and fear, which, to be clear, incites and amplifies the leftist hatred and fear of Trump. His arguments are the same cliches that have been used by the left-wing media for the past 4 years, but brings fear to the United States. Doesn't that fraudulent election bring fear? Doesn't the communists behind Biden bring fear? Doesn't the communist regime